Okay, so today I want to do something a little bit different on my channel. I want to discuss the philosophical arguments for the existence of God, of classical theism. So I'm not talking about some polytheistic version of God, and I'm not talking about some pantheistic version of God. I am specifically talking about the God of classical theism, so a God that is omnipotent, omnibenevolent, and omniscient. Now, I apologize ahead of time if the audio is too loud in this presentation. I know philosophy presentations on YouTube have a habit of being so quiet that you can barely hear them, if you can even hear them at all, because there may be, background noise going on in your house. I'm going to try and stick to that trend, but if I fail and make the audio too loud, I apologize ahead of time. Now, I want to begin by laying out the argument for the existence of God as stated by St. Thomas Aquinas, and he lays out his premises as such. There exists a series of events. The series of events exists as caused and not as uncaused. Atheists are gay. It follows that gayness comes from atheism. Conclusion, atheism is totally fucking gay. Now, this is only a part of St. Thomas Aquinas' argument for God. It's only one part of the five gays argument, but I think it's the strongest part. And I think this argument is very compelling in terms of arguing for the existence of God. Now, that's not to say that it hasn't had criticisms or rebuttals, and we'll get into them, but I think as far as arguments for the existence of God goes, this is one of the strongest. Now, I think the first person to really challenge the five gays argument was David Hume, hundreds of years later, when he stated that our knowledge of the world is based on sense impressions. Such matters of fact are based on experience. I experienced your mum's pussy last night, therefore I can't be gay. And then he laid out his conclusion: I fucked your mum. Now, this was a really powerful rebuttal because it seemed to establish that atheism can't be gay if the atheist is fucking the Christian's mum. However, this was called into question, this rebuttal, because it wasn't perfect, as Descartes rightfully pointed out. So the way Descartes lays this out is that he first states that I cannot be epistemologically sure of the existence of anything but my own mind, and that touching a girl gives you cooties. Ergo, if you did fuck my mum, you then indeed have cooties. Conclusion, atheists can't sit with us at the lunch table, because of course if atheists did sit with us, we would then have cooties ourselves. So this is a pretty strong rebuttal against atheism as a whole, a pretty strong criticism of atheism as a whole. And it wasn't really challenged until once more hundreds of years later. That challenge came about in the 19th century from Bertrand Russell, where he laid out the premises that men are born ignorant. You are probably ignorant of what sex even is. Fucking virgin lol. Conclusion, Christians are losers because of course they have not had sex according to this argument, or don't even know what it is. Now, this argument didn't actually last very long because it was challenged in his famous radio debate, which we'll get into the next slide. In his famous radio debate with Frederick Copplestone, Bertrand Russell did try to use the Christians don't even know what sex is argument, but Frederick Copplestone was not having any of it, as he stated, I totally know what sex is. It's when you stick your penis inside a woman and then pee inside of her to get her pregnant. Conclusion, Christians have had more sex than anyone, which of course makes their beliefs more true, and it just makes them cooler than atheists. Now, this argument, once more, hasn't really been challenged, and this was, I would say this is the definitive argument for the existence of God. Now, the new atheists have tried to rebut it, but they still have not been able to come up with an answer for what sex is. They claim they know, but and that they've had sex, but that you wouldn't know her, she's not from here. So if you buy that argument, I guess you could say being an atheist is the more logical position to hold, but personally I don't buy into that, and I think this argument soundly proves the existence of God.